The Mr.Bones Show.
Welcome folks, I'm Mr.Bones, and welcome back to another episode of Lost Media Limbo, the series in which I pick out my favorite Lost Media topics, or Lost Media topics that just tickle my fancy. It's been a while since I've done an episode of Lost Media Limbo, it's definitely been a hot minute, and seeing as how there are new Lost Media topics that have caught my eye recently, and the fact that my audio has just improved significantly over the course of the past few months, I figured there isn't a better time to do it. So without further ado, let's get started. Here are some current cases of lost media that I think you might find pretty damn interesting. I'm Mr. Bones, and this is Lost Media Limbo, Volume 5. The first topic of tonight takes us to a certain nostalgic character, at least to me.
I'm Popeye the Sailor Man. I'm Popeye the Sailor Man. I'm strong to the finish, 'cause I eat my spinach. I'm Popeye the Sailor Man.
Popeye the Sailor Man. What can you say about Popeye, huh? I mean, he's a cartoon character that was literally made only to sell a vegetable. I mean, that's pretty monumental, to be honest. And when you really consider Popeye as a brand, you don't think of the food spinach when you think of Popeye. I mean, like, you do, but you don't think of, like, it is a company that sells spinach. You think, oh, it's the cartoon character Popeye, you know? He has hundreds upon hundreds of cartoons that are absolutely iconic. I mean, he's up there with Bugs Bunny, Tom and Jerry, and all the other classic 30s cartoon characters. He's a household name, let's be real here. So it makes total sense that Popeye has, at least in some shape or form, cases of lost media. And while I haven't dove deep into what Popeye has regarding his lost media cases, I'm sure there are cases of lost media that are regarded to Popeye. I'm sure there are some lost shorts. I mean, maybe there are a few Popeye projects that were in development but sadly canned. But this one is monumental. This one's huge, and it's probably the biggest case of lost media that I actually haven't thought about, and that's the lost Jendy Tarabowski Popeye film that was in development over at Sony Animation. Now, believe it or not, this film actually has a bit of a following behind it. I know that originally the film was going to be made and released in 2017 by Jendy Tarabowski, the creator of Dexter's Lab, Samurai Jack, and most recently Hotel Transylvania. Now, Jendy had worked on this Popeye film for a few years now with Sony, and it just eventually was canned, which really sucks because this film was going to be pretty much like an origin story of Popeye. It was going to be very faithful to the original source material. It was going to explain where Popeye came from, who his father was, why he gets so strong eating spinach, how he met olive oil, and how he tangled up with Bluto. It was going to be a very faithful adaptation of the character, and of course it was going to be faithful because it was made by Jendy Tarabowski. This guy is like an animation saint. So, and if it was going to have the same animation style as Hotel Transylvania, you know you were going to be in for a good treat.
Maybe just a little. That muffin is looking awfully like a hamster.
Unfortunately though, the film was canned by Sony, though actually we did find out why it got canceled. A lot of people like to think that the Emoji Movie was the reason why this film was canned, but it wasn't actually. I'm actually here to debunk that rumor. It was not the Emoji Movie. It was actually due to the fact that Jendy and Sony had terrible internal issues. Sony wanted to change the Popeye brand to a very different take, and Jendy Tarabowski wanted to stay faithful to the source material, as, you know, he grew up with Popeye and he wanted it to be like the cartoons he grew up with. So unfortunately there were issues and the film had to be canned, which at the end of the day sucks to see. Interestingly though, a channel by the name of Chip Buddy released a full animatic of the Popeye film, not fully animated, but it was the entire storyboard test, featuring voice acting by Tom Kenny, the voice of SpongeBob SquarePants.
We're off to find the shipwreck shaped like a shark. Maybe we should get some directions first.
But my big question here is, how the hell did this end up on YouTube? Chip Buddy isn't a content creator, this is the only thing they've ever uploaded, so clearly this was only uploaded just for the sake of preservation purposes. Maybe this supposed user is a member of the original team, he had a reel of it and just uploaded it online for people to watch, who knows. But from what I watched, I did watch the film, I have it downloaded on my computer because Sony has been taking down people that re-upload the full animatic on YouTube and on the Internet Archive. Sony ninjas are everywhere. So I downloaded a copy of it and I watched the film. And my God, as a Popeye fanboy, this is fantastic. This is by far the best adaptation of Popeye that I've ever seen. Jendi, my man, you've once again done it. Even Jeep, one of the obscure characters from the Popeye series, was in this film and he made a major role. He was like the cute, goofy, cartoon sidekick character. It was very interesting and I loved this take on the character. It was definitely very faithful. They even had a classic Popeye villain, the Sea Hag, which has been shown in other Popeye media.
Oh, he's Popeye the Sailor Man. He's strong, confident, because he's Popeye the Sailor Man.
Did you know I own that on DVD? Anyway, an actual genuine CGI adaptation of Popeye would have been fantastic, and it's such a shame that this got canned because, like, this was great. If Sony just shut their asses up and let Jendi make the film he wanted to make, this would have revitalized the Popeye brand. I mean, like, it would have gotten sequels, hell, it probably would have gotten a TV show, merchandise, the works. Popeye would have been brought back from the dead if Sony just let Jendi make the film he wanted to make, and that's a real shame. At least we have this full animatic, though. It's good to see what could have been. With that said, though, the Lost Popeye animatic, I guess you could call it, technically has been found. Yo, Mr. White, we're in Lost Media Limbo. Jesse, what are you talking about? Lost Media Limbo? What even is that? Walter, you're a case of lost media, Walter. Just talk about Walt's warning, Walter. Yeah, Mr. White, talk about Walt's warning. What even is... Jesse, I have no idea what you're talking about. What are you... Dad, what even is that? My name's Flynn. Okay, shitposting aside. It's probably going to be the biggest topic of tonight. Walt's Warning. Walt's Warning is a strange little case of lost media. It's a 360 flash short film, I guess you could call it, that was developed by the same people behind Breaking Bad. It was also developed by a company by the name of Ralph, from what I can tell. I haven't dove too much into the details, but from what I can tell, so essentially what Walt's Warning is Breaking Bad, the popular meme status level iconic series that it is, had a cute little game, I guess you could say, where you could send this supposed name, or you can write down the name, the last name, the email, and a photo of a loved one, send it to them, and they will receive this video of Walter catching them in the desert, trapping you in the RV, and he basically threatens you and your family by calling you by your name or your loved one's name, burning a photo of you or your family. It was very cool and was very surreal, I have to say.
You know, my wife is pregnant with a baby we neither intended nor can afford. My 15-year-old son has cerebral palsy, and within 18 months, I will be dead. You have no idea the sacrifices I have made for this family. You so much as breathe a word about what you saw here today. Have I made myself clear? You just can't take your eyes off that, can you? Huh? What a good look. What would you do even if you got a hold of it, huh? Good night, Chris.
Definitely very ambitious, and Bryan Cranston obviously reprised his role as Walter, goes on to claim that he had recorded over 500, 600 names just to completely immerse every player that he could. So hours upon hours of footage was recorded, and that's very cool to see, I'm not gonna lie. Now, where is this thing? How can we get our hands on it? How is it lost media? Let's get into those details, shall we? Well, for starters, how is it lost media? Well, Flash, that's the main reason. Flash took a giant shit in 2020, so we can't watch it anymore. It's kind of the same reason why the Nick Zombified bumpers don't work, if you guys remember that case of lost media.
What the hell is even that?
Now, I am no technician or very tech savvy when it comes to the Flash player, so I'm not necessarily sure if the main reason why it won't work is because of the Flash player, but I do know we are investigating the company that worked on Walt's Warning. There's also another short, other than Walt's Warning, called Walt's Wizard, Wisdom. Now, I don't know much about this one, though I do know after investigating Walt's warning, I'm sure it's an even deeper rabbit hole. The reason why I'm talking about this in Lost Media Limbo is because the Lost Media Wiki is hosting it on the hunt for this case in particular. So if you'd like to investigate yourself, take a look at what's going on, and maybe see some updates on it if you are interested, then I'll have a link in the description for the Lost Media Wiki Discord and you can join on the hunt. But let's go ahead and list off a few rules here if you're going to join. 1. Do not contact anybody if you do find something. Leave that to the contact team. 2. Do not ask people, are there any updates? People in the On the Hunt hate that shit. So what you should do is check the pins, right up there. The pins are very important as they keep a lot of the most current updates and information to people's attention. Now, with that said, do not go in there spamming it. That's just something that doesn't fly here in the Discord, so if you want to be a part of the server and you want to contribute to Walt's warning or Walt's wisdom, whether we find him or not, please keep all of that in mind. With that said, I've been rambling most of this portion of the video. I don't really know much about Walt's warning. I just want to talk about it because I love Breaking Bad. I love this case in particular, and it's just so fascinating. With that said, though, until then, Walt's warning, and technically Walt's wisdom, will remain Lost Media. This case is very important to me. I've always wanted to talk about this case ever since Lost Media Limbo Volume 1, but seeing as how people have talked about this on YouTube more than my feet have touched the floor, I figured I'll cut this short. Shrek. You know him, you love him, he's frankly more popular than practically every character on this video. Yes, including Heisenberg. Sorry, man. The Green Ogre just outbeat you. So the topic of tonight is obviously the Shrek I Feel Good test animation, which was developed over at DreamWorks in 1997. Before Mike Myers took on the role of Shrek, the sarcastic yet lovable ogre, originally it was Chris Farley, a late SNL actor who was prominent for his comedy. Chris Farley was going to voice Shrek, and instead of him being a more sarcastic and narcissistic individual, Shrek was more of a lighthearted and sweet character, a jolly giant of sorts. The test animation was developed using mocap animation, as well as real-time backgrounds, meaning that the backgrounds were fully sculpted and modeled in real life, which of course is very ambitious. I mean, DreamWorks wanted to outbeat Toy Story, so they wanted to do something a little bit more high-tech, and I guess mocap was the hot stuff back then. I don't know if Chris Farley actually voiced the audio in the I Feel Good animation test, but it wouldn't surprise me if he did. The main reason why I bring up Chris Farley was because Chris Farley was a prominent figure in Shrek's development at this point in time, so even if he wasn't voicing the character in the I Feel Good test animation, it's still worth noting him, as he was very prominent in Shrek's creation. Not much is known about the I Feel Good test. All we've had for the longest time is a few screenshots of it, and that's really about it. I know we have a few clay models of what Shrek looked like in the test, as well as some other screenshots and screen caps here and there that have been floating around the internet, but that's really about it as far as what we know about it, and even if it still exists. For all we know, this thing is completely destroyed. Some have speculated that collectors have reels of the I Feel Good test animation, but I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if that was the case. But recently, a huge lead has been brought up in the search. The only problem with that is I really don't want children to be bothering this individual that we have a huge lead on, so I'm going to do my best to give you guys as minimal details as I can but also informing you on what's going on behind the scenes. So apparently an animator who worked on the Shrek I Feel Good test may or may not have it. We know this because we found some footage of the I Feel Good test. It's not the best quality, but it's footage nonetheless on this individual's Vimeo page. I suppose this was their portfolio of sorts, and they were showing off what they were working on and what they've worked on in the past, that of course including the I Feel Good test animation. We're doing our best to reach out to this individual, and when I mean by we, I mean the contact team dedicated to looking for this thing, not just random schmucks who bother people all the time. I just want to say this right now. Don't reach out to this person. Don't message them if you find out who this is. Don't message them, don't talk to them, leave them alone. Because the chances of you bothering them and filling their emails full of shit is the less likely we're ever going to get this thing found, and they'll probably just ignore us and keep this for themselves. So it's very important that you let the professionals take care of this. I'm mainly saying that towards you, kiddies, so please don't do that. Also, I don't want to get in trouble. So, that too. That's pretty much all I want to say about the Shrek I Feel Good test animation. I just got really excited because we, for the first time, could actually see this in our possession. This is like one of my top 5 most wanted pieces of media of all time. I love Shrek, and I love this weird, strange, awkward phase that the ogre had in his early years. If we can get footage of the I Feel Good test animation, that would make my day awesome. But the only way that's going to happen is if this person actually does reach out to us, and if he still has a copy of the video in his possession. Until then, though, the Shrek I Feel Good test animation will stay a mystery. RayMan. Now, I think it is a tradition now that I talk about RayMan in literally every Limbo video now. This is the third time in a row that I've discussed the limbless hero, but I mean, I can't help it. His cases of lost media are fascinating as hell. So let's make this the last RayMan case of tonight, shall we? Of Limbo, period, until there's an update on this, like RayMan's training. RayMan 4. Now, this is a game that I've wanted to happen, RayMan fans want to happen, and 3D platforming fans in general. If you've played RayMan 2, The Great Escape, or RayMan 3, Hoodlum Havoc, you'll know why this is the case. RayMan 2 is considered the greatest 3D platformer of all time, but in RayMan 3, Murphy says the iconic line,
See you in Rayman 4!
but it never happens. And we've waited 20 years for this game, and it hasn't happened. Well, as a matter of fact, it was. Thanks to Liam Robertson of Unseen64, we got our very first glimpse into what could have been the synonymous RayMan 4. Ironically though, it wasn't going to be developed by Ubisoft Montpellier, the head of the RayMan development, or where Michel Ancel worked, the creator of RayMan. Up until this point, all RayMan games were developed at Ubisoft Montpellier. But RayMan 4 wasn't going to be developed there. It was going to be developed by another company by the name of Phoenix Interactive Entertainment. Phoenix is most prominently known for such classics as Porky Pig's Haunted Adventure.
It's a masterpiece.
They don't have a lot of titles under their belt, but RayMan 4 was going to be their first big break. The first game that they genuinely were passionate to make. Unfortunately, though, it met a pretty sad demise. RayMan 4 was a very ambitious idea, as the plot was going to be revolving around Rayman in a sort of video game hero boot camp, as he has to take down Dark Rayman, a glitch in the system that adapts Rayman's persona. The game, much like Rayman 3, would have been a 3D platforming adventure that utilized power-ups. Concept art shows all sorts of different abilities and unique ideas that Rayman would take on, such as a Bubblegum Rayman, Porcupine Rayman, Bigfoot Rayman, Flashlight Rayman. Interesting stuff. But what about the actual gameplay? Well, apparently, Phoenix Interactive wanted to make a game that anyone could play, and would be a lot like Rayman 1 or 2, taking Rayman back to his roots. It was going to be kind of Sonic Mania-esque, where it bring back old levels from the first two adventures, such as Bandland and Picture City, and even the Glade of Dreams from Rayman 2. Concept art also shows many other different ideas in different worlds that Rayman would have explored in this adventure. Nothing is known of the game except for a few screenshots of some builds of the game in early development, until February 14th of 2022, when we got our first video, I guess, test animation. What is with my channel and test animations? I don't get it. But there was a test animation that was made to kind of show off the utilization of Rayman 4 and how the gameplay would really work, necessarily. And again, this is very interesting. I wish there was an early prototype build that we could find and play for ourselves, because I need myself another 3D Rayman fix. Rayman 2 is pretty good, I guess. Rayman 3 is peak gaming in my honest opinion. That game's freaking awesome. We need Rayman 4, people. You're probably wondering how this game got scrapped. Well, if you must know, the game was going to be developed for the Nintendo GameCube, PC, PS2, and Xbox. Unfortunately though, around the same time Rayman 4 was in development by Phoenix Interactive, Nintendo unveiled the Nintendo Revolution that would eventually become the Nintendo Wii. Ubisoft feared that their current GameCube projects wouldn't sell well because the Wii U Revolution was already on its way. So they just completely swept the rug under Phoenix Interactive and pulled the plug on the project entirely, giving the Rayman 4 title back to Ubisoft Montpellier, in which they would work on another 3D platformer called Rayman Raving Rabbids, which, as you know, became this steaming crock of goat shit. The story of Rayman 4 is long, tedious, elaborate, and honestly I couldn't really wrap my head entirely around it. There's just so much interesting lore behind it, and frankly, if you want to learn more about it, I'm going to leave Liam Robertson's video from Unseen64 up at the top below. You can click right there if you want to watch it for yourself. It's a very interesting story, and it had so many ambitious ideas. Not only were power-ups going to be utilized in this game, but vehicles too. Imagine what it would have been like piloting a RayMan mecha suit. Unfortunately though, things must come to a halt, and unfortunately in 2009, after this unfortunate situation, Phoenix Interactive had to close their doors since Ubisoft was their only source of funding, which really sucks. It really looked like they were passionate about making this game, and it's a shame that this project died in such a vein. If only RayMan 4 could have finally happened. Don't get me wrong, I love Origins and I really love Legends. Those are both fantastic and probably some of the best 2D platforming experiences that you can get nowadays, but I feel like RayMan really needs to come back to the 3D genre and really give us a 3D platforming adventure that we've finally been waiting for years. At least we have some sweet concept art, some screenshots of the test demo, and at least we have this cool little animation that shows us what could have been. Unfortunately though, until a demo of sorts would ever surface online, RayMan 4, until now, will remain a mystery. Well, that's it for Lost Media Limbo Volume 5. Thank you all so much for watching. If you'd be so kind as to like the video and subscribe.
Nope.